Friday. It's the first Friday starting now, and the last one is in May. And so the chamber puts this on. Amber is our new legislative forum this year. If you haven't met Amber, she is working to get all the legislators and the representatives from this area. And then she invited somebody from outside, since we don't have a representative right now, she's working on that. So if you have any questions about future legislative forums, Amber is your contact person. She's got this set up, so thank you for coming. And then,
and we thank you. Really appreciate the chamber for doing this. Awesome job, and a lot of people here today, so that's awesome. Okay, so whose last name is the closest to Z? Is that Steve?
Is it me?
I think so.
My name is Steve Sanford. I am a Henryettan, classified for, I'm an independent candidate. I spent 2 years on our city council trying to make a difference in this little town. I think I have, and I want to move forward and make a bigger difference for our district.
Okay. Who's next? Is that Nelson? David Nelson? Oh, Randy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, I haven't been.
I didn't want to admit what high school I graduated from.
All I can tell you is I have no political experience at all. I'm a police officer. I'm here all about school security and safety. That's what I'm all about.
And can you please tell your party affiliation? Because
Republican. Definitely Republican.
Because the first election we have is the Republican primary, and that's on March 4th. So the independent and Democrat candidates will not be on that ballot. That will be the May election, but it's very important that people get out and vote on March 4th. Okay.
I'm David Nelson. I'm from right over here in Morris. I retired from the military as a Black Hawk pilot, but I do not know what happened against him. I've got so many questions about that. I'm a Republican, and thank you guys for having us.
Brian Logan, also a Republican from Weston County, born and raised there, pastor, small business owner, cattle operation.
Yeah, Henryetta. I'm from Chicago, lifelong Republican, small business owner. Food connoisseur.
Hi, I'm Nathan Brewer, Democrat, Henryettan. My main focus is strengthening laws to protect our children.
Hi, my name is Steve Aldridge. I'm a three-time mayor of Okmulgee, and my focus is education. I have a passion for education and for students, and for those are our most precious resources in our areas in District 8, promoting school, economic development, water resources, and tourism. Thank you. I'm a Republican.
Good job, everybody.
Brian's joking.
We'll have some announcements at the candidate forums that you can go to. But I wanted to let you know that we did have a candidate forum with 4 of the Republican candidates at OSUIT last Saturday. The Henryettan live streamed that, and they made it available to us. We've got it on our Facebook page, Okmulgee County Republicans. You can go watch it, or you can go to the Henryettan Facebook page or YouTube channel or online and watch it there. And so we encourage you to go watch that. It was over an hour and a half, gives you a better idea of the candidates. So we want to say thank you to Representative Scott Fetgatter. That is just always available and always works hard for his district. So we really appreciate that. Always here for us. But we're without a senator this session. And so we asked Senator David Bullard from down by Durant.
You said it properly. Good job. Very good.
I said it probably the first time.
Good. I'll worry about it.
Your next senator's in the room, though.
And anyway, Joseph Silk is here too. Representative Josh Burkeen's. What's your title officially?
Tribal Communications Liaison.
Okay, so if you have any issues, go see him afterwards.
She said the problems.
Yes. Crystal, the Senator Rollins office is here too. And what's your official title?
I'm the Northeast Field Rep, so I cover 14 counties. What that means is I'm here to help you any way that I can. Nonpartisan, so it's just whatever issues you might have with the federal agency. We have caseworkers. I always tell people, I say this very lovingly, if you have a need and you need somebody, you can call me and contact me. If you have a complaint, we have a great website.
And Joseph may feel the same way, so I don't know. But yeah, they're available, they're here. Thank you for being here and being visible in the community. So Senator Bullard graciously agreed to be our surrogate senator and drive up here to do these and be available to hear our concerns and to address our concerns in the Senate to work what he works well with Scott. And so you guys are going to learn a lot today, and we just really appreciate him taking time out of his Friday off to come up here to spend it with us. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to them. To be out of here by 12. Just saying. So she's going to do this to you, or give you the 10-minute left. On the warning.
You'll flip me off. I'll get to see
If we're used to that, I don't know if we should Well, good afternoon. I guess it's still morning. Good morning. It's always great to be home. Session began with the governor's state of the state, where he told us what he thinks we should do, and then we will consider what we might think he has a good idea on, or we'll just trash it all together. We'll do what we believe as the two chambers we should do. The session, I feel like I've been in session for 2 months already. It was back to back meetings from 8 a.m. until 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then phone calls all night till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning for me this past week. So, a little tired, but I want to talk briefly. Actually, I'm going to let the senator introduce himself, and then we'll answer some questions, because you guys may have some questions about what I was going to talk about anyway, so we'll go ahead and do that.
So I'm Senator David Bullard. My name is David, by the way. People call me Senator, and I still look around people talking to me. So I'm from Durant. How you pronounce that word will tell your age. The older you are, the heavier you are on the duty. And so it kind of depends, but it is from the Durant area, 15-year veteran teacher, and this was what I taught. I taught AP U.S. History, Government, and the U.S. Constitution for 15 years. And did not get out because I was mad. I got out because I felt called and led to go up and run and do what I have been called to do and make the stands that I have been called to make. And so, been in the legislature now for 6 years. Number of things under the belt right now. Currently, I am the chairman of Retirement and Government Services, which is the long way of putting I am in charge of one of the most useless branches of government called OMS. And I am quickly looking for a way to destroy and completely shred OMS. That is the Oklahoma Management Enterprise Services. They are a useless, completely useless agency that does nothing but rule over all the other agencies and slows down services getting to where they actually need to be. And so that's kind of where I am here and how I work on things and go from there. So my area is Durant, Atoka, Hugo, and the Antlers area. So all of southeast Oklahoma, I like to refer to it as God's country. So anytime you want to come to God's country, come on down. We've got the best Mexican food in the world. But other than that, I'm delighted to be here, and I appreciate the offer to come, guys. It doesn't bother me to come up drive. I've had people say, "Why are you doing it?" Well, I was asked, number one, and number two, I love my state. I don't care if you're in my district or not. I'm here to make the state better, freer, safer, all the way around the world. And so, it's an actual pleasure to be here. So you're not bothering me at all. My girls are in school anyway, so I'll get back in time to go pick them up from school. So, other than that, we can open it up for questions, or if you want to talk about what it is you're.
Well, I do want to take this great opportunity to remind the senator that 6 years ago somebody ran a bill to eliminate the entire agency of OMS, and he is really open to continuing that conversation since the governor said, would you give me 1 year to turn it around, and it's gotten even worse and worse. So there is a representative in the House that would be happy to help you open it. Questions?
Don't be 6-hour class. Somebody's got to ask a question. Let me fill in a gap, and then while you're thinking about the question, just to give you an understanding of why we're so opposed to OMS. It was created in 2012 as a design to be more efficient, by buying power in the government, run it all through one agencies, because the agencies were not being efficient at that time. And so they created a new bureaucracy, which I hate doing, and that new bureaucracy was designed to just be over IT, and then ended up taking the world over. So now, in order for an agency to do anything, to get a car, to buy a computer, to do their job, they have to go get permission from OMS first. And it was designed to be more efficient with your tax dollars. I can tell you right now, the budget for OMS is $484 million. I would dare say OMS is not efficient, and the agencies can do it better. We're going to make sure to put guardrails on them because they need to be bidding efficiently, using their things efficiently. And there's one thing we know for a fact about government: they are never efficient. You are better stewards of your money than we are. You are better, you understand business better than a government ever even dreamed of doing it. So we are constantly looking for ways to get it back to the people. Always back to the people. And OMS is going the wrong way on that. OMS is robbing that authority. So OMS is definitely wrong. Yes, sir.
This has nothing to do with OBS, but what's
OMS.
Did you say OBS?
I like that. I do like that.
Well, I want to know what is the future of education with considering what Trump is doing in Washington with the national education. What's the future of education in Oklahoma?
Well, I would say this. I got elected in 2016. Since 2016, we put how much extra money into over $2 billion?
It's over $2 billion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to.
No, that's perfect.
It was a little over $2 billion. We, as the legislative body, have appropriated new dollars, reoccurring dollars into education. What I am hearing, so my new role kind of took me out of being like a chairman of a weekly committee and put me over external affairs and tribal relationships. And so we took a trip to DC back in November, and the question when we went and met with all our congressmen and with our senators was, what does this look like? What are you hearing? And so what it's looking like at this point is, if they do, and there's speculation to whether this could come sooner or maybe later, if they were to abolish portions of the State Department of Education, that it would the dollars would filter back to the states through our Department of Education in block grants. So I'm not so sure that it's going to affect our public schools financially. DOJ will make that determination. And who all sit around watching DOJ eating popcorn right now? And it's like that, FAMO, right? But I don't think it's going to have a drastic effect on us because education numbers have declined since the creation of.
And that's a big concern.
The Department of Education.
Is the federal government, I mean, are we going to be able to get appropriations from the federal government still, even though they abolish the...
Yeah, they will come back to us in block grants is what we're hearing.
So I'll give you my take on it, and you got to understand the teacher in me is fixing to come out. So I'm not taking the long way around the barn. It's just there's an educational piece here. When you look at the Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 8 has 17 specific powers listed for Congress. That's it. It's not unlimited authority. It's not unlimited power. Supremacy doctrine says thereof. We're talking about the states. So is education mentioned anywhere in the U.S. Constitution? It is not. Therefore, the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution kicks in. The 10th Amendment says any powers not listed in the Constitution are reserved for who? States. So that means education is state issue. So is a U.S. Department of Education constitutional? It is not. Now we start looking at numbers. We started putting money in space race. You know, if you want me to teach that lesson, I've got PowerPoints. In 1950, we started putting money into education through the federal government. And understand this, there is nothing the state of Oklahoma puts money into that we do not also regulate. So every time we say it's for the children, let's give them more money, we're also now adding more regulation burden on you, the citizens. Does that make sense? So if you go back to 1950 and start looking at our scores and our test scores, since the federal government got in, are our scores up or down? Down. So maybe we're not asking the right question. It's not a matter of should the federal government get there, because trust me on this, I have a master's in administration. Every dollar that the federal government sends to us has not strings, it has chains attached to it. You need proof of this. President Obama, whenever he got in, started saying you're going to let transgender athletes, boys, play against girls and go into the locker rooms and dressing rooms. It's not happening in my state. I'm not going to let that happen. So when we get into this argument, what does the federal government say? They don't say, well, it's okay, just go ahead. The federal government comes in and says, you either do it or we're going to take what away from you. They didn't pass a law. How are they reigning over us? Money. So they're the ones saying, we're going to fund your kids, your public schools, if you won't do what we tell you to do. Now, the next thing, I've talked with James Langford about this, Senator Langford about this in depth, because I had heard the rumor a long time ago. Now they're targeting free and reduced lunches. So make sure you understand what their goal is. You will either do the LGBTQ trans thing, or we're going to make your kids go home. Nobody is okay with that. And I'm not okay with that. And I've seen this coming for a long time. So since I've been in, I've authored a bill to say I want a plan from the State Department of Education that says how are you going to change out these funds? Number one, we got to know how much, right? Even when Joy Hoffmeister was there, I couldn't get an answer on how much money do we spend on these different programs. They hide this stuff from us, right? So we went in and said, I want a plan of 10 years of how you would divest those funds over to the state so that we don't have any chains attached to the federal government. Who can do education better than the federal government? The states can. Who can do education better than the states? The local areas can. And so we've got to understand, you have local school boards, local city councils for a reason. If you don't like what they're doing to your schools or with your schools, fire them. Get you somebody else that can do it right. Does that make sense? Okay? So we've looked at these issues to say the state ought to take them over. I had somebody say, well, you're going to get rid of Indian education. No, wait a minute. We think a bureaucrat in D.C. can do Indian education better than Oklahoma. I don't think so. Why don't we go to our tribal partners and say, why don't you help us with Indian education? Guarantee you they help. So you got to understand, everything that we look at, and this is what gets me every time. Every time I find a problem with education, whatever it is, it's always a federal roadblock. And it's always where the federal government stuck its neck into a place it shouldn't be. My suggestion is you get rid of it. Let's go back to doing education Oklahoma way, and we'll do a better job than the federal government ever thought about doing. What else?
I'll start.
Yep.
I'm not sure, I guess maybe, I was wanting some more information on the Senate Bill 128 that I understand is going to be coming up in February, is that correct? About the,
Is that the storm chasing bill?
no,
What is that?
I was going to ask, extending eviction times and things like that.
So Senate bill, I just actually got a call on this bill. I have not had a chance to look at it yet, but what I would tell you is that, and this is what I've had to tell people about where we're at in the legislative process. We started on Monday. So every bill that you see out there right now basically started a conversation, right? And there are over 3,000 bills, which is absurd to me, but it is what it is, right? There are over 3,000 bills that Senator and I are having to go through right now. I have not looked at that bill personally as a House member because all those bills that start with an SB are over in the Senate. And I don't know that, I don't even know if he's even looked at it yet because there are so many bills. We are trying to get through the bills that are going through our committees and all that. So all the bills take some time for us to all kind of get into. But if you'll reach out to me, I just had another call on it. I'll be glad to take a look at this bill and give you my opinion on it. And I can give you my cell phone number. Okay. Shoot me a text, and I'll take a look at it.
And there's several of the ones here today about it.
Gotcha. Well, maybe we should just pull it up.
We are, what we found, as it said, how long they want to extend the notice between the eviction notice and the eviction date.
Yeah, the bill pulled up.
I just got the number.
So we've had, he's the offer on that.
That's what I was looking, that's why I was wondering what. Who?
Yes.
Julie Turner.
Yes.
I will tell you, I haven't read the bill, but I can tell you I'm opposed to it.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
So they run this every year.
Okay.
What they're trying to say is they're taking away property owner rights to be able to say you can't evict somebody, and they're trying to extend that time out. We got a good taste of this during COVID because the feds came in and said you can't evict. Well, then now all of a sudden I'm a business owner and I do rent houses or whatever, and I have somebody living there rent free. And as a matter of fact, the feds have even come back on some of the ones I've looked at and have said, matter of fact, you have to pay the utilities. You can't get, you got to pay the utilities. And I think you probably run into that. So, I mean, I love Julia Kirk. She's a fantastic lady, but she is as liberal as days long and very
And so, especially in our communities where we have a lot of low-income tenants, I mean, in essence, what that's going to do is it's going to raise all the living costs for these people.
well, and it's putting small businesses.
I'm not going to take a risk on you now if I know I'm going to be 3 months before I can get you out. I mean, they're not going to rent to you, or it's going to cost you 3 months rent up front to, and it's going to hurt the people in this community. Half of my people from my apartments are on SSI. They never had enough moving costs to cover what I would have to have if I know I'm going to have prolonged time we just don't have to pay.
And I think people lose the fact that you're a small business owner.
We are, we're just local here.
And the other bill, I'm not sure what the number is, James or Caroline, but it is going to expunge, if they have ever, we went to court and filed eviction on them, they are wanting to expunge that off of OSCN and ODCR, so we cannot be educated as to their past rental history.
So let me do this and I'll get this out of the way real quick. If you guys have a rival, let me give you my cell phone number. I only have one. I don't have enough money to have 2 phones. But if you need my cell phone number, please text me first. I had somebody call me at 2 a.m. the other morning and I said, not answering that. 580, he was my wife. 580-916-5290.
9250?
Yes, 580-916-5290.
The expunged one, I think, is Senate Bill 815, and the other one is 128.
Yeah, so text me those if you would. Let me do some double checking on them. I'm not in judiciary anymore, and those usually go to judiciary, so we've always been able to vote those out and kick them out.
In your experiences, I mean, you said this seems to come every year. In your experience, is this something we need to be overly concerned about passing this year?
Yes.
We do.
Call your senators that are on that committee and just express, you don't have to chew them out. We had the bill, Senate Bill 1017 on trying to do away with IEPs in schools, and we got 500 emails jumping us out and bouncing us out saying, how dare you, I didn't run the bill. So you gotta understand, your approach, we're very approachable people, so come talk to us and send us a text, hey, this is a problem for me, I'm a business owner, this is what it does. It actually helps us when y'all do that, because it kind of flags it in our minds.
So will we be able to find people on these committees? How do we do that?
So if you'll go to oksenate.gov, and I think it's kind of on the website now, you can go to committee by committee, and you can find out who's on that committee, and it'll have your contact right there.
Okay.
And can I mention something real quick? East Central Electric has a phenomenal app that you can download. That's it is called Oklahoma's Legislative Guide, and it'll have 60. That's got all the committees, the committee members. You can click on it. You'll have all their information just right there. You can scroll through. You could even see Julie Kirk's name and pull up her information. But also, I encourage you guys to, contact the committees, because if you get it stopped in committee, it's never heard. Yes. But read the bill yourself, because a lot of the associations, You know, they'll put information out there, warning, warning, danger. I did pull that one up because I'm a landlord, and the expungement would be for people that were not evicted, that maybe it went to court, but there was no ruling on them, that they were not forced. So it's not always what it's presented as being by your associations. Try to read the bills if you can, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't get it stopped, because I'm not for extending either.
It's very seldom when you see something go out, it's very seldom when it's like, go read the bill.
Yeah.
I know all about that.
Yeah, when I ran the bill.
And I can tell you-
Together a plan to replace the funds. Oh Lord, it was all over Facebook, Lord's trying to defund public schools, and I said, 15-year vet teacher, you know.
I think we're getting ready to have a question, and I'll be able to address that.
Yeah, so I read that you were gonna make people get licenses to chase storms.
No, so I actually just had a meeting, that's in my committee. Just had a meeting on that. It is not a requirement. The bill, the way its original language is now, understand bills change. And it's also not what was put out.
I went to the website and read it.
Yeah.
Was that Scott's bill though?
Yeah. It was.
Well, I'm the House author on the Senate bill, and I'm the author in the House, and I was the one that was asked to run the bill initially.
But I did go and read it myself, and then I was like, yeah.
So kind of a funny story. I got to the Capitol yesterday morning in the tornado building sirens.
They did a false alarm on the tornado siren while we were meeting with the storm people.
It just so happened David and Val were sitting in my office, and I walked in my office and said, Val, I need you to get your butt out on the road. David, do I need to find a green room? We need to get some weather up in here. I mean, a coincidence was just occurred. Listen. I was approached to run this bill, and the reason why was because they knew that I had an interest in storm chasing, because I had asked some storm chasers if I could go do the right one. But here's the deal. All the bill does, it changes not a single thing about the way anybody wants to chase a storm. If you are like me, and I live out of New York, and if they say there's a storm down in Okemah, it's a high probability that I'm going to jump in my Ford F-150 and I'm going to jet down there as far as I can, and I'm going to follow that storm until I get tired of following it. I've done it for my whole life. I'm 56 years old. I've never seen a tornado. But all it does, all the bill really does, is it creates a optional, not a mandatory, an optional license for a professional storm chaser that works for a news media outlet, a university, research group, or National Weather Service. It's optional. You don't have to have it. What it would allow you to do in the bill, the way it's written, is run with red and blue lights, which is a terrible idea. I've already addressed that. It's all. I actually have an alternative to any lights at all that I would bring out as we move through the process. But the problem is, and if you haven't ever seen this, you probably just weren't paying attention. You'll have a storm spotter on channel 2, 6, 8, 43, whatever, and they're chasing a storm, and they're sitting at a red light, and they have their dash cam on, and they're talking to you about what they're chasing, and the light is red, and the green traffic is going this way, and there's no traffic at any other section of the intersection. So for every second they are sitting at that red light, they are following behind the storm. What they do then is they squeal the tires when their light turns green, and they drive 3 times as fast to catch back up. All this license would do, really, is allow them the opportunity to yield at the red light, proceed on. If you pull up and there is a situation where there's a blocked road, law enforcement would say, hey, that's a storm spotter that is licensed. They can move on. Let them around. They need to keep following this storm. You may or may not recall. And look, I literally got blew up all across the country on this. I mean, like, I have storm spotters reaching out to me from all around the world, really. I talked to a guy from Australia last night who storm chases in Oklahoma. But what I'll tell you is, if you were here last year in June, May, it was sometime in June. We were out of session. I'm sitting in my recliner watching the storms. They were all up north and some way down south, some around Shawnee. And the storm sirens in Old Mulgee went off. And I was like, why are the storm sirens going off in Old Mulgee? I couldn't figure it out. There was nothing being talked about Old Mulgee on the weather. The storm sirens go off, they shut off, and a storm warning pops up. Old Mulgee County, take cover immediately. The tornado F1 had already hit Morris. And so DPS told me the other day, hey, I don't agree with you. The weather radar will pick it up. No, the weather radar didn't pick it up. Well, I don't agree with this. So what are you telling me I'm a liar? I mean, I sit there and watch this. So there is a percentage of storms that do hit our communities, and they never hit the radar until it's too late. So this is a bill that just simply allows certain professional storm chasers to continue safely, hopefully. I guess they're all renegades, basically what I'm hearing, to simply avoid a 2 or 3 minute stop at a traffic light or get slowed down in traffic. That's all it does. It's optional. Nobody has to have it. They will. And actually, excuse my language, what pissed me off about it is DPS told me the other day, thank you for shining a light on it. We're going to be a little bit hard on it.
Oh, no.
Well, just know, it's in the committee, but all bills change. I have never filed a perfect bill just yet. So stay tuned, stay on it, pay attention to what's going on. But they were in my office too the other day, and I had 5 demands that they had to change on the bill. But it's going to change for the better. Essentially, they're looking for the same exact powers as an emergency vehicle to be able to have those same operational limits. I don't like the license. That's the problem.
I think the license is more to make sure that they have qualifications.
They do. What we were talking about with them is there's other ways we can get at that from them because they hire them and select them so they can give them the authority without having they can pay a license. So I've asked them to do a few things. I also don't like running it through the insurance department, which was the lobbyist idea to do it. So we're working on where we run that through. Like the Department of Health right now runs your ambulance. They license an ambulance. Same concept. But we're taking it. I mean, it's one of those things. Bills, more change, more good, bad. This one, I'm for it right now. I'm going to give it a hearing, especially if they make the changes, which they said that they would.
Yeah, I dropped all the changes yesterday.
To the bill, but you know, it could come back in May and be the worst bill you've ever seen in your life.
There'll be many more.
Never let your guard down. Yeah, never let your guard down.
Yep. What else? Yeah.
You mentioned 3,000 bills going up this year, and that was a little crazy, and you already feel like you've been in session for about 4 months now. Do you feel like a lot of those bills are being ran, people are just running them just to bring attention to something or for a political statement? And if that's the case, do you guys feel like you have enough time to review all the bills and give them due process where they need to go forward or be stopped? And if we can slow that, bring that number down, or is there any way to mitigate the amount of bills that you're running to?
Well, that's what the committee process does. The committee process, chairman here, he's going to go through every bill that gets assigned to his committee. He's going to present or kill every bill. Most everybody, they always took money out of the state. So I had a very strict process. And so if you sent a bill to my committee, I called in House fiscal staff. We went through every bill. I would get about 60 bills in my committee. The average committee would get like 10. To have them get like 60, I'd bring in House fiscal staff. We would vet through every bill. We would look at the fiscal impact of every bill, and I would make a cut. And then we would go through it, and I would take my chairman, and I would say, go take the rest of these bills, go with everybody who ran the bill, ask them why it's good for Oklahoma, who requested the bill, and is it a priority bill for them? If you had a bill in my committee up to the past 6 years, it was about a 15 to 20% chance that bill was going to get hurt because it was going to have a fiscal impact on the state of Oklahoma. So the chairman, they handle all of those bills, and then what they let get through their committee, that you all dual assign committees that go to another committee. The House started dual assigning bills this year as well, so it goes through 2 committee processes now, then it goes to the floor. So yes, it is a process. It's a huge, but to the beginning of your question, there's a whole hell of a lot of people running bills just to get some kind of news story. And look at the storm chaser bill. I thought that was going to be the easiest bill I ever read. It's turned into an absolute disaster. But yes, there are people on both sides of the aisle that are running bills saying we're going to do away with this, or we're going to do that, we're going to mandate this, we're going to mandate that, with no conversation. And if you rebut them, or you even question them, you're either a radical right-winger or you're a rhino. It's just absurd. You know what? I hear it said all the time. I'm the most conservative in this, I'm the most conservative in that. Well, hogwash, what's the litmus test to tell me you're the most conservative or not the most conservative person? What is your district like? When I got elected, Marshima will attest to this. This district was 60% Democrat. I was the first Republican ever elected to this seat. My House district was much more moderate than I was as a person, as a citizen. It was much more moderate. So when I represent the people, I don't represent me. I don't represent the Republican Party. I'm a member of the Republican Party, but I represent the House District 16 citizens. And so I would go up and I would make votes in the best interest of my district, which was extremely moderate. Now, we have worked really hard over the past 8 years to flip this district. And for those of you that are running for Senate right now, you should thank that woman right there, because we have flipped this district from 60% Democrat to 60% plus Republican. And it took a lot of work, did it not? In fact, the Republican Party, when I first walked in, because it was a very small group, they really didn't like me, because I represented the whole district and kind of the feeling. But they've learned over the years that I may be much more conservative than you think I am. And Senator knows that. But my district is somewhat moderate. So I have to represent the district. So there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of hogwash that they put out on social media and on the news media, and I'm this and I'm that. When they get their butts in a seat up there, the whole story changes. Because you may want to vote one way, but your constituents may be telling you I don't like that. And so if you're not going up there to represent, those of you who are running, you're not going up there to represent the Senate District 8 citizens instead of yourself, you're missing the idea of the citizen-led legislature. Sorry to go down that. Sorry to go down that.
Senator. No, go ahead.
Okay, the OMES is over Doge, Oklahoma, right?
No, well, okay.
It's a part of
It's
it.
an excellent question. We don't know. They're claiming it's over OES. That one just kind of got sprung on us, and yet there is no budget, so we looked at the executive summary of his budget proposal, and there's no OES mentioned. Or no Doge mentioned. And now they're saying Doge isn't going to cost anything.
It's on the Oklahoma state website that's it.
Yeah, so
The OMES.
we're battling over how does that work. If you're going to put it in and I'm for it,
Right.
it's going to cost. We know that it is, but at the same time, I'm opposed to growth in government. That's growing government. And we have loft and we have other things that we can do to be able to do that. Loft serves a lot like Doge if you'll get them both on what they're supposed to do. And so, I think it's a political win, but I think we already have it in place that we can do what we need to do. There is obviously a need to go in and start analyzing how and why did you spend that money. Because what we find is, in order to get that, they'll duplicate. So they'll say, well, we need $200,000 for new computers. And then they'll go ask for it in a different line item in a different way, in a different line item in a different way. And that's how they beef up the money that's coming into the areas. So there's obviously need to look at it. And I said this in the last meeting. I'm telling you right now, you could cut the state of Oklahoma's budget by 10% right now and say only the cuts apply to administration. We are so administratively top heavy right now. You can do 10% cuts and never feel it. But every time they've done cuts in the past, they just did across the board and left it up to the agency. Now, if I'm the director of an agency making $350,000 a year, I'm not cutting that. So where did they cut it? They cut it on boots on the ground. They put it down where The services are needed, but they didn't I never will forget, my first year in, we were talking about mental health at the last one. They took me in and showed me their brand new headquarters. And I mean, it looked like the Hilton. They spared no expense. And then turned right around immediately and said, as soon as we are starved for money, we do not have money. I said, I don't think you do.
Maybe
So-
you should be in charge of it.
Yeah, so we need to look at a deep dive. That's what Loft is under, and actually Loft is catching a lot of stuff. We need to focus Loft a little bit more because, you know, your bureaucracy has become, I can't remember who said it, but your bureaucracy has become the fourth branch of government. And it's not one you want because they're not elected. They're there for a buddy system, and it's not a good thing.
So I want to address what he just said there real quick about that, because I get a little miffed about this too. And so forgive me for getting miffed. I get a little miffed over it. So look, I mean, I know a lot of us in here, we believe in term limits and we agree with term limits. And there's a good conversation to be had about term limits, and especially in Congress, because it's a disaster up there. But here's what's getting ready to happen to you. I'm over here running Knight's Law right now. And by the way, just quick update, Knight's Law has went, which Knight's Law is about the murders of the children and the mother here in Henryetta about 3 years ago. Okay. So sexual predator got let out. He was, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So Knight's Law this year has become a chemical castration bill. I have a senator that actually gave me the language. Basically what the bill does is if you get convicted and sentenced to a crime, one of the 6 most heinous crimes against children, sexual crimes against children, we're gonna put you in prison for 30 years. And if you're eligible for parole at 15, we're gonna say, well, the only way you can even be considered for parole is if you choose to be chemically castrated. That's what we're gonna do. Kind of a great deal support when it comes out. So if you don't get chemically castrated, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. You're going to serve your whole 30 years. That's your option.
But it's
Step up.
Oh, okay.
Did you say it's me?
No, it's mental.
Oh,
Sexual deviancy is mental. It has nothing to do with genitals.
The chemical castration does help with that.
It might hurt them, but it doesn't change their mind about what they're into.
We can have that discussion because there is some mental aspect to chemical castration. With that being said, term limits right now, what's getting ready to happen to you is I have 2 to 4 more years that I can serve in office. Senator has up to 6 more years he can serve in office. The Department of Corrections has already sent me an email that says we have a problem with your bill. And they're going to come to my office and they're going to say, well, we don't like your bill. And then they're going to ask me to do a study. And they've done it for the last 2 sessions. So what they're going to do is they're going to try to put me off. Then I'm out of office because I got term limited. And that bill goes away. And then the problem never gets fixed until the next sexual predator goes out and kills 5 kids and his wife or whatever. And somebody else says, maybe we ought to look at how do we stop these sexual predators? What can we do? So this is what term limits does. See, it allows the bureaucracy to run your state. I'm telling you, he knows I'm not lying. Bureaucrats will wait you out because they're there for 20 or 30 years themselves.
We know that because they told us that.
They will wait you out. They will literally wait you out. So, off my soapbox.
Yeah, you know, I'm a term limits guy, especially at the U.S. level, because we have good, very, very, very good congressmen like McKean, who is self-proclaimed term limit pledge, but the rest of them aren't doing it. So in 8 years, whatever that winds up being, I can't remember, Joseph, but whatever that is, we lose a really, really good congressman because of that. Now, I'm for the term limits, but it needs to be all across the board where they're all getting out. Because the longer you're in, the worse it gets. In Oklahoma, I would agree with him, 12 years isn't quite long enough. I mean, you kind of get in, you just know what you're doing, you get in the leadership side of things, and then you're out. I would like to see it go to 16, but at the same time, when you go look at the numbers, most people are out at just over 8 years anyway. That's
right.
You look at some of that, but you make people who are doing their job and obviously getting reelected. be able to go in there and stay a little bit longer and continue to work on it. But it is definitely a problem with the bureaucracy. And, I mean, that's what brings us to things like OMES, and they're wanting to consolidate the Highway Patrol, OSBI, and the OEM. We don't run small agencies well. Like, they constantly go around us, and we now have subpoena power because of law, and I can force their hand. But we're starting to get a handle on it. Now, why would I want to make a giant agency that I know for a fact I'm never going to be able to control and get answers from? So we've got to be real careful on how we handle our agency. And OMES has become a juggernaut. I mean, it's just one that has to be tamed or make it go away. Yeah. No proof.
Next question.
I think we have one over here.
Yes.
What is the ratio between state employees, state population, and the rest of the other 49 states?
Oh, Lord, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've done some research.
Isn't that an important metric?
I'm not sure. It may, it may be something to look at. But what would it accomplish? I guess is what is your
Well, if you're 50% high, then 49 states, doesn't that give you an indication that you may be a little bit less efficient? If 49 other people, other states know how to run their business more efficiently, don't you think that should be considered?
Is that the number? Do you know the number?
I understand you're high, but I do not know the number.
So let me talk about these big statistics that get put out there. Okay, let's take ACT scores for example. Let's just use that. Let's take so Oklahoma ranks really low in ACT scores, right? Well, the legislature passed a bill that said your end of instruction test is an ACT test. Okay, so that means every student in the state of Oklahoma takes the ACT test as part of their end of instruction testing. A lot of states, very few states actually do that, am I correct?
Most states, they take top 10% of the kids, or the kids are selected to take the ACT by the school district.
Right. So they're going to have a higher score because all of our students take it. And not all of theirs are. They're taking the top 10% of their students to take it. And so it drives our score down. So then the news media puts out a freaking fake news story that says Oklahoma sucks at education. And they don't tell you the fact that all of our students are taking the ACT test as part of their end of instruction testing. And so that's why it's important to understand that these rankings, that Oklahoma is so bad at this and so bad at that. I think Oklahoma is a great dadgum place to live. And it's not just God's country in southeast Oklahoma, but I do live there. I've been there for about 6 years. But just going extended on up just about another 25 miles from where we're standing right now, and that'd be all God's country right there. But Oklahoma is a great place to live. But we are governed by a liberal, progressive constitution. When the state constitution was written, it was the largest government document in the country. And we are the reddest, most conservative state in the union.
Hey, can I interject for a second?
Yeah, interject.
We have more words of regulation on lettuce, this is a fact, than most states have in their entire constitution.
Thank you. Thank
Wow.
you. So, think about what we're saying here. The state constitution, written by progressive liberal Democrats, is the longest document, governing document at the time, and it's still one of the longest in the world. And we have a conservative, we can argue back and forth on CPAC. We have the second most conservative legislature in the country. 77 counties voted all 3 times for Donald J. Trump to be the president. And we are governed and we are bound as legislators by the largest governing document nearly in the country. So, Senator Bullard and I, we have a resolution to put a state constitutional convention on the ballot for you to vote on to say whether you would like for us or not like for us to rewrite the state constitution, or the state constitution, to put back to you to vote if you like it or you don't.
By the way, according to the Oklahoma Constitution, every 20 years, we're supposed to put up a vote to the people about whether you want to do a state constitution convention anyways. So he's just upholding the Oklahoma Constitution by doing that.
Is your request is to have a vote, or do you guys have like things you're wanting to change at that time in the Constitution?
He is just putting it up to a vote. You want to have the CONCON, the Constitutional Convention. And then if y'all say yes, then we start setting up how that works.
Then we would vote on it.
And you all would vote on it, yeah, I mean, you would have to.
Whatever those changes, we change, we go back to what we did.
Hopefully we cut the thing in half. There's a bunch of stuff in there we don't.
So you've got 4 minutes before 12. Senator Bullard, did you have anything that's on your heart to share or that you want to talk about real quick?
You know, one of the things that he brought up was just a good point. I'm proud that y'all are watching those bills. That's a big deal. Few people do. I mean, we don't get emails and calls very often. One of the things you need to pay attention to, and the reason why he brought up the CPAC thing that I disagree with him some on, I love CPAC, but CPAC only grades you on the bills you hear go on. I love OCPA. They only grade you on the bills you go on.
And just a few of them.
Yeah, they just can't pick them. You need to grade people on what they don't hear. Joseph knows this all too well from his time. Joseph was an awesome senator. I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of the conservative bills, we tracked it this last year, 90% of your conservative bills that you're begging us and telling us you want, never even get a hearing. That's a problem in your state. So don't just pay attention to the bills you disagree with. If you see a bill you like, you need to contact whoever that chairman is, because a single person can kill a bill that is great for the state. I'll give you an example. I've got a bill right now that would make gold and silver transactionable within the state of Oklahoma. First in the nation to do it. It's constitutional. Article 1, Section 10 says the states may use gold and silver as legal tender. First state to do this has massive amounts of gold and silver coming into our state. We have a depository. We can go now on this thing. Then, if you're retired or have money invested in gold or silver, now you get a debit card from the state and you can spend it just like it's cash. It's the coolest system ever. I've run it now for 3 years and have yet to even get a hearing on the bill. Why? Because one lobby group says we don't like the bill. Just make sure whatever you do, don't hear it. Because they know if they hear it, I've got the votes. All right, but I know what my votes are on that bill. So just pay attention to how your relationship.
What's the bill?
All in build that relationship with
What's the bill number?
Senate Bill 33.
So write that down.
Senate Bill 33.
Go to the Finance Committee, right?
Rader, calling, telling him you think this is a great thing, and we've got lots of people calling on this one. Good. So I mean, it's a good system. It's set up. I can't find why having gold and silver in your state is a bad thing. I can't figure that part. So we've got lots and lots of possibilities, but most of them are the bills you never even got to hear about. That creates a problem. I'm begging these organizations, stop looking at and grading legislators on the bills that they vote on. Go grade them on the ones they won't hear.
And you can look up bills by category. I think it's on Legiscan. But you can go, like, if you want mental health or if you want education or whatever, and by committee, it'll list the bills that have been presented, and then you can target the ones that you like, and you can start calling the committees on members on those bills.
And by the way, to Nelson's, David Nelson's question, it's a legitimate question. By grading them on the bills that they don't hear, just the bills that they file, it'll stop a lot of the nonsense bills that makes everybody so mad. Because now, even though it never got hearing, you're getting graded on the fact that you filed a really, really dumb idea. By the way, out of 10,000 bills, there's a lot of bad ideas.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right.
If I could, I'll just kind of wrap up, if that's okay, Marshila. I want to talk to you about a tax cut, okay? So the governor has said he wants a half and a half. He wants a 0.5% cut in income tax, and he wants a path to zero tax income tax. Look, that sounds like great deal to me. Here's the problem. The budget this year, if we hold a flat budget compared to last year based on what we are projecting revenues, revenues numbers will be in next Friday. Based on our projections and pre-revenue numbers, a flat budget across the board in the state of Oklahoma right now has us dipping into our savings because we are negative somewhere 250, 350, that's not millions, 250, 300 million, dipping into our savings to get a flat budget. Now, right now it's early, so the Senate has fiscal staff, we have fiscal staff, so we differ in our numbers right now because we have two different sets of staff people are looking at these numbers. On the House side, we are showing a 0.5% tax cut is going to be somewhere $550 to $650 million less. So that pushes us up to around $1 billion less to budget with this year. I'm all for giving people their money back. I think it's a great idea. That's why I've always voted on these things. However, we have to decide, do we want to cut state government $1 billion? And for all you Senate candidates out there, you guys are going to be like, yeah. All right, when you get over here, you're going to see that it's a little more challenging to do, let's just cut $1 billion out of the budget. Because there are services that everybody in this room may or may not take part in. You may have a family member or something. Be cautious when you get on the the income tax Governor Stitt narrative right now, because you have to understand how it affects what's coming in the budget. And so we will work through this together as the House and Senate. And that building always works best when this guy and this guy are working together and we're telling the governor, you're wrong. We know what's best because Governor Stitt's not standing in here with you today. And I guarantee you Governor Stitt is not standing in a small group of citizens right now at the same time fighting out what's important to you. That we all. He drove an hour and a half to get here. If you drove 2 hours, you're going to utilize that S-Tab. But anyway, I want to caution you to be, on this half to a path, because it's kind of a catchy little phrase. Just caution you that call me, talk to me, let me know where you're at, let me explain what it does, and then make these decisions. Okay? Thank you for coming.